So hello everybody and welcome back to Hello, It's Best to Talk. Now today I am delighted to be joined by Paddy Melville, whose story I first heard on River Radio on the 13th of September. And Paddy has this incredible story to tell. He's a kind of living embodiment of, I don't know, how to overcome things and keeping it real and men's mental health. And people's mental health, and that's the area that Paddy works in these days. But it all started, didn't it, Paddy, when you were riding a bike? So would you want to pick it up from that, and maybe say whatever you'd like to introduce yourself to our viewers?
Of course. Hi everyone. So yes, as Helen kindly introduced me, I'm Paddy Melville, or Patrick. I joke I'm a non-Irish Paddy. I try and do Irish accents, but that's available in another interview.
Okay, so top of the morning to you. Here we go.
Thank you. So my story is, as Helen, I'll pick up on that. I was cycling in London in 2017 in July, and I was going to the Google offices. I have my own business, and then I launched it. I've been going for 4 years, and for those of you who know what it's like, or I'm sure you hear about it anyway, starting a business is challenging to be able to get it going. So it took me a few years. My background's marketing. My first job was a typical job that you fall into. It wasn't vocational. Someone said, "Do you speak Spanish?" I was like, "Yeah, sí." "Do you want to travel around South America?" "Sí." "Do you want your own business card?" "Sí." "Do you want to get schmoozed for lunches and breakfasts?" And I was like, "Yes." So I ended up buying advertising in airports. So it's one of those jobs. Does someone do that? Yes, they do. So I fell into that, and I built a career in marketing, running big businesses, big campaigns. So 2013, I started my own business, thought I want to do other stuff. And it's interesting what the power of hindsight does and why I did it. I'm happy to share that, but it's all bringing together now. Things happen for a reason, and you feel things for a reason, interestingly enough. So 2017, I was going to Google. I was doing work with them. I was about to, 2 weeks later, going to go on a plane to Japan to work with the FT. I was going all around the world, literally giving my work, which was helping training people how to sell and presentation techniques. It was really exciting. So I was building up 3 young kids, very young. I lived in London. So I was cycling around, and then suddenly I came off my bike. Now, I've been cycling for over 30 years in London. I knew those places, and never ever happened. And it's interesting to when, again, hindsight, look back. So I came off my bike by Victoria, near Eaton Square, for those of you who might know that place. And thankfully, I wasn't near any cars, and I came off onto the left side of the road, onto the pavement. And lovely, pedestrians and even the taxi drivers came up and said, "Are you okay?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'm fine." Nice. And it's interesting, one of the key things, Helen, and of course this story and about generally happens is sort of, men's stigma kicks in. I was like, I'm fine. Thank you so much. Thank you. And even taxi driver said, "Do you want a lift to the A&E?" I was like, "Yes, okay, I will." So I got in, went to A&E. They did a scan on my shoulder. Thankfully, it was okay. They said, "Mr. Melville, you're fine." I even had a check a couple of days later. Then I went back to work. I missed that day with Google, annoyingly, but I was like, "Oh, of course, I have to go on, make a difference and be a good dad." And then it kickstarted some headaches, but I was like, "Okay, but I'll do that later. I'm sure everyone, knows that feeling."
Yeah, tomorrow, the day after, when I've got some time, or something.
When I have some time, time is a key one, isn't it? I should have done that, time out, but of course I didn't. I carried on. I wanted to get ready because we're going on holiday. My kids went away with my wife on holiday, and I was going to join I was spending those 1 week just collecting all that stuff in because I wanted to get my work done. And I was ignoring this pain, and this pain was getting worse and worse. And it's sort of around here and then up here, my left, right here. I'm fine. Thankfully, one weekend I came down to see my parents, and I stayed with them en route to see some other friends. I was going to stay one night. I ended up staying 2 nights because this pain got worse. And my parents said, look, I think you should go and just kind of have it checked out. I was like, no, I'm fine. I'm okay. I'll just take lots of paracetamol. You know, that's going to work. Ibuprofen, but, you know, get my face, you know, it's like, I'll sleep on it. One night, I couldn't sleep. Just couldn't sleep. I'm a very good sleeper, but that night, bang, my pain got worse and worse. I remember going downstairs early time, and luckily my mother was around, and my friend and my parents were there. And she said, my mother said, look, you don't look well. And I said, I'm fine. Okay, I'll call 111. You know what I mean? It's kind of negotiating. Who was I negotiating with? 111. So I called them up. It was 8 o'clock in the morning, and they said, and there was no one who picked up. I was okay. You know, I was sort of saying that they're asleep. I'll wait. And this friend, and this is quite interesting, how a person outside can see what's happening on a different perspective. She was a lovely lady called Penelope, and she said, Paddy, go to A&E. Just go. And somehow that sort of were like, okay. I wasn't relying on myself. And that's a key message, I think, as well. I was sharing it, and she was listening to her. She said, go to A&E. Just get a winch to A&E. So I went there. And I went with my mother, thankfully. We sat down, and luckily they saw me pretty quickly on Sunday morning. Had I done it too late, they would have said, Saturday, you know, they rely on you to share, to be honest and say, how are you? And if you say I'm in pain, which I was, then they would have gone straight in. But I was like, I'm okay. Yeah, a bit painful. And on Saturday evening, had I done this, they would have said, go home, because they would have been clogged up with people waiting. Mm. Yeah. So my point is that relying on yourself, you know, as in be openly honest, because you're helping yourself.
And saying what you see, saying what is rather than what you would like it to be. So you're in pain, you need to be in A&E, and then you're kind of going, no, I'm okay. It's just a little thing. Okay, so tell us. So what happened?
So thank you. So what happened is that I went in. Thankfully, they did a CT scan, and they said, Mr. Moore, just wait. So I waited with my mother, expecting 5 minutes. I've been on a CT scan before. I'm sure you guys have. You know, it's like quick scan. Only takes 5 minutes to come back and give you the diagnosis. 5 minutes, 10 minutes. 20 minutes, 30 minutes. I was like, I think I've got to go. I've got to go somewhere. I've got to go and see my friend. And a junior nurse doctor came to me and said, excuse me, Mr. Melville, could we take you to a side room? Okay. And they said, Mr. Melville, I remember she even called some nurses to come in with her, and they drew in a ward the curtains round. And all the nurses, interestingly, sat next to my mother. Not next to me, but I was feeling something's not right. So next to my mother, literally held her hand. And then the student doctor said, Mr. Melville, we found a cancer lump on your brain. What? I found a 4.7 centimeter.
Oh, Paddy.
On my left temporal lobe. And I was like, what? And they said, you're going to have to stay here. I was like, what? We'll do another scan, MRI scan. We'll get that going. So my life was going like this. And then suddenly stop. And I was thinking, it's amazing what you're thinking and how numb you are. Mm. Everyone is still around my mother. And then I had to go up to the ward, sit down, and they pumped me full of steroids. I had morphine ready if I needed it. Pain was still there, of course. They tried to help me. And what was interesting is that journey had a lot of options. It's interesting when you got a cold, you think, just take a pill. We've got fever, just get into bed. cancer is an interesting experience. You have so many options, partly, especially because they don't know what to do. So a lot of phone calls. Southampton General Hospital, who were the local cancer hospital for my condition, didn't come back. I called, nothing. And of course, in those moments, seconds really count, don't they? Not like, am I going to get up now in 1 minute, 5 minutes, or 20 minutes, whatever. Every single second counted. And thankfully, I was able to build a team of contacts. And you talk to people, you share. You're like, I've got this, I've got that. My wife was stuck in Jersey, where she was on holiday living with her stepmom, but on holiday with the kids. So she had to tell the kids. Turned out she told them very well. She told them in the car, not the full story, just saying, Daddy's in hospital, he's not coming to holiday with us. But just to fast track it now a bit, I was able to find some support and get some treatment. And that was through, thankfully, I had the best of a bad bunch of my tumors. But the stats were pretty horrible. It was stage 4. So,
Wow.
stages. Yeah. It was malignant. So it just come out of nowhere, and it was running around my brain. Thankfully, it was called mutated. So it was the best of a bad bunch. And it was high enough so I could have an operation. And so I was able to find someone. And this is a miracle in so many ways. And the power of sharing helped me to get to this place where I was diagnosed on a Sunday, and I went into surgery in London on the Friday.
Wow. That's amazing. That is fast work.
And it was just a case of just get it done, and it's amazing, that journey. And I know the worries that people have, not just with cancer, but with life traumas, to be able to sit there. And it was interesting also, just different experiences. I'm really happy to share because obviously I've been on that journey, and how my life has changed. My approach to life has changed. I got some lovely tips. If there's anything that you want your listeners and watchers to hear, just keep my tips are like, we are not statistics. Don't Google. First thing I was told, don't Google terminal.
Dr. Google is a very, very unreliable friend. It's not a friend at all. It's an enemy, actually.
And you learn this new language, glioblastoma, terminal cancer, with the roles of different people, you become an expert. So you're a member of so again, we're not statistics. You can't approach life with that, even though, things might be against you. It's like kicking a free kick in a hard place. You can still get it in. And also, it's also the control and the choice you have. Find those ways. So sharing was a way for me to get the right person and the help and give me hope.
So you went then on a journey really of to the surgery, and then you chemotherapy. Did you have, what other treatment did you have, Paddy?
So again, we could become an expert on this. So I had obviously a full MRI scan across my whole body, make sure there was no secondary cancer. Thankfully, it was only here, and on my left temporal lobe. And I had my operation, and then I was like, let's see what happens. I still remember being in the ICT room. Ironically, there was a friend who was at the surgery, who was the first person I saw since my tumor, since I was diagnosed, who actually was my anesthetist.
Wow.
Sometimes, and I think one little message is also, things happen for a reason. It's noticing those.
So what have you drawn out of it for yourself then? Why did this happen for a reason? Was your life experience taught you?
That, and I can't, and what this also means is that you find your powers, you find the powers that we all thrive on together. So for example, the power of positivity, and that has been reinforced so many times, the power of control. Now, of course, my cancer, I can do my treatment, but I found other ways. I spoke to nutrition. She's this lady called Emma, and she took me on and she gave me some tips. and gave me treatment in the way that I can control what I eat, what I realize is bad for you. So, for example, we're the only animal that has other animals' milk now. It tastes nice in cheese, yogurt, chocolate, ice cream. Tastes nice, but is it good for us? Those kind of things to change and to listen to. So it gave me a control. So every time I decided not to have yogurt or milk my cereal, I was making a positive impact on my body. One interesting thing she said was like, do this not just for your cancer treatment, do it as a life change. And again, these changes really helped me to live life and to really realize what helps me and realize and also promote it. So I have to say one thing, and I'm still doing a lot now, is my faith. A lot of the things I knew growing up from I have a faith in, I'm a Christian, I'm involved in a local church, and even before my diagnosis, it's weird, I didn't really properly have a breakout cry. And that's maybe alpha male, but maybe I think also I had that somehow a confidence, that spiritual confidence that I was on a path, and I wasn't. I'm not saying I knew that I was going to be okay. That's not right. It's that hope, the hope that it gives you. So I did a lot of prayers, and I still do, and I'm grateful for every moment I have. Every single moment I get out of bed, and while the kids are screaming in my kitchen, I tell myself not to feel guilty, and I go out into a field behind me and I listen to a lovely little prayer service. It's only 10 minutes and I'm living life. And one way is to do it through God. That's how I help me. I enjoy the now. It just helps me to live the now. And that's when I read a lovely book called The Power of Now.
That's a great book. Great book. Yeah.
And that's something that we don't really do. We're always moving forward. We're always looking forward, or we're looking back to work out how to move forward. We never live the now. It sounds so obvious, but when I was stuck in my bed, or every time I see that sun shining on me, I look up and I thank it, and I try not to go back to old Paddy days, which I was a nice guy. I'm not saying I wasn't. And my friendships, who I trust, who I like. One thing that's really interesting about the friendship side, and this is any trauma you go through, and this is a marketing tool that I learned. It's about perception. We all have a different perception of life. You just look out the window. What you look at will be different to what other people look at. And this is what I do on mental health workshops. And your friends have a different perception. So I was expecting people to pick up their phone to me all the time. I even remember having thought about how many likes am I going to have on Facebook. That's just not right, is it? It's that, one person making that difference. So interestingly, I had to be careful not to label my friends, because I thought, well, who's not getting in touch with me? Oh, okay, well, obviously I have to prioritize my friendships. But also sometimes people don't know what to say. If you come across someone who's been told they got terminal cancer, if you come across someone who's just lost a loved one out of nowhere, I suppose there's no script we're being taught how to approach them and what to say.
Absolutely.
I totally agree with that. And of course, Helen, your interviews are great to sort of give some guidance to people. How do you approach someone? I'm really sorry you feel like, but even just getting in touch.
I think even, getting in touch, and a phone call is better than a text. I mean, meeting in person is better than a phone call, but it's all about what's possible. And even if you don't know what to say, I think if somebody says, I don't know what to say, that is, but I'm here and I'm just wanting to check in with you. That's so important, isn't it? Talking is so important. I mean, I remember when my brother died, and I saw an old school friend walking towards me in Sheffield in the city, and I know she saw me, and she crossed the road and went on the other side. And at the time it hurt me desperately. Now I know it was because she didn't know what to say. But say what you see, and to say, I don't know what to say, but I'm sorry. This is terrible, terrible loss for you. Something like that, or this is so hard. And make it big. Not. I think avoid that phrase. At least, well, at least you've got 3 children, or at least you've got, you've got a lovely house and a lovely wife. At least it is not what you're dealing with. You're dealing with the grittiness of it.
I know, and it's amazing. I suppose it's being ready and saying people what they say isn't what they mean, for good and bad, sort of reasons. When are we trained? The big trend at the moment at the school that my kids are at, soft skills are more important because robots will be taking over. But where have we ever been taught about self-care, mental health, how to communicate? There's a really interesting stat that being a mental health first aid England instructor, and this is logic. I don't know about you and about your followers here. How many years have you been taught how to listen? You're taught under half a year to use it, to learn about it, and you use it 42% of your time. Whereas writing, you get many more years training, and you don't really use it as much. How can it's like mental health? It's like talking to people with a trauma. When were you ever taught? So how can you know what I mean? So
well, I think it's important that we have these discussions. I mean, in Men's Cancer Week, it's thank you so much for sharing your story, and it's about through stories, isn't it, Paddy, that we can actually share, that we connect as human beings, and that connection is just incredibly important. That that isolation is a killer. Is of itself. So connection, talking, stories is amazing. So, Paddy,
the big key, it's you should normalize it. The word cancer. There's the words to explain what is going on as well, and it's okay. Even the word mental health, what comes from it, because we're all connected. And I realized my mental side I had to look after. My college was like, so when I was thankfully going through like stable. He was using his medical words. Even when I was told, the punchline is obviously the miracle that in 2019 I was told that I was in remission.
Wow, that's amazing.
Amazing.
He didn't use the word.
He didn't use the word.
No.
He was like, it's stable. I can't see anything. And he showed me the image. And I said, does that mean I'm in remission? And he was like, yes.
Whoa.
You know what I mean? And I was like, we screamed. I've even got the video of it, actually. I've got a recording. I record it every time because my mind during treatment, and even now, my mind is really congested. I still have symptoms which I need to manage. And the whole point is that when you're undergoing treatment, that's a physical side of your body, but there are others. You've got your mental side, you got what I call emotional or spiritual side. They're all connected, but if they're all, because they're connected, you need to look after them both.
Yeah.
And the mental is obviously sharing.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you, Paddy, for sharing your story. That's just an extraordinary story, and I'm so pleased and glad for you and your family that you are in remission and that you're doing this amazing work that you're doing in helping mental health. And you're on your path. You're really doing.
And if anyone wants to get in touch, please do. But also, just a little thing: it's okay to share your thoughts. It's okay to be weak. Yeah, it's okay. You don't have the answers, and sharing will bring back opportunities.
Great. Well, thank you again for sharing, and thank you everybody for listening in to this extraordinary story. Please press the red button, the subscribe button, and we look forward to seeing you next week on Hello, It's Better to Talk. Thank you.